Now let's talk about attacks. W.A. Henderson, who was the music critic for the New York Sun for 55 years, said that in 55 years of his career, he'd heard only one perfect attack. And that was Enrico Caruso. I'm not sure what he was listening to, because there are a lot of great singers who had fabulous attacks, and I love them all. Some of the singers do a preset and go, huh, and then they sing. You hear Caruso using that on some of his later recordings, where he goes, huh. He goes, "Hanna, hanna, pagliaccio non son," and you hear him really, huh, before this sound. They started calling it the Caruso sob. It wasn't really a sob, but it's definitely a preset, like a miniature cough, huh, like that. So, but before that, he didn't do that. And when he came to New York in 1903, he didn't have such a big hit, and then he sang a few years, and all of a sudden, by 1906-07, he was considered the perfect, absolute perfect singer. So, this preset is one of the attack methods. There are many of them. One is what I call the contrary motion. You take a breath and go, ah, or you sigh. Ah, just be sure you sigh downward and inward and not ah. You want to be a pop singer? Unforgettable, that's what you are. That's done with a sighing method that comes up and out. And we want the sigh method that goes down and in, if we're going to use it. So this business about attacks, we also finish phrases, la, and now I have to attack again. Well, there are all kinds of methods for that. One is to maintain the preset grunt. Keep that little miniature cough at the cutoff. Ah, ah, ah. So now I have a perfect punta d'appoggio type attack that I can use anytime I want to, and it's very safe. And it's all over the place. I can use anywhere in my range. Ah, 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 ah. Everything is. That's another one you can use. There are other ones that are physically more complicated. You do something up here to cause a reaction. So let's say I'm doing Hermann Prey. Hermann Prey does that, see? And that action of raising self palate up and forward like this, right, very mechanically, causes a reaction, and all of a sudden I can sing. So my attack is this way. Every time I breathe, I go. Ah. Someone like Maria Callas on the later, if you look at her on the later YouTube, she's smiling like we're really good. Ah. Nicolai Gedda does this. Ah. Some singers use phonation to cause a reaction. So they go, where is that? Joan Sutherland, Franco Corelli, any number of singers I've known said they always sang in the back of the neck. You do a staccato in the back of the neck, go, oh, 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 oh. Now if I attack there, see, it causes a reaction inside. So all of these attacks are possible. They're all based on breathing a certain way. If I breathe down my back, I can laugh. I can cry. I can do a miniature cough. That's Manuel Garcia's whole method. Because the bass that I studied with when I went to Europe was a student of Manuel Garcia, and that's all they used, right? Someone like Robert Merrill worked with Giuseppe De Luca for 5 years in New York. And De Luca had a 33-year career, something of the Met as a leading baritone, studied with the same teacher that Mattia Battistini, who is considered the greatest male singer probably in history, and Tito Ruffo studied also with Persichini for a while. And De Luca had Robert Merrill do nothing but the messe di voce, which was the start very lightly and then do the crescendo, decrescendo. And that's all they did. They did it on, and then, ah. If you do that, where do you set it? And where does the swelling of the volume react in your diaphragm? And that becomes your point of leaning that you use for all of your attacks. So attacks is a big subject. We can go on forever about attacks, and there's a lot. Maybe I'll just do a whole series on nothing but attacks, because there's so many different ones, and they all work. They all have worked very well for somebody. I remember Elizabeth Schwarzkopf used to bend over like this and collapse her chest sometimes. Crystal Ludwig's a better example. She'd get in dramatic music, and she'd start collapsing her chest and breathing in her lower back, going like that. And she'd be going, oh, 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 and she could sing anything. Ludwig could sing anything. I heard her sing the Immolation scene from Goethe Dämmerung in Vienna in the Musikverein. I'm telling you, it's fabulous. Anyway, we'll get more back to that. Bye-bye.